Hey, we had some really big developments last night in the election. Former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney endorses Vice President Kamala Harris for president. Oh, what a big break for Ari Melber getting to break this news to MSNBC, the only
Oh
audience
boy.
who cares. But he got to break the news. Here it is.
Breaking news right now, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who played such a key role leaving Republican leadership over the Jan 6 insurrection, then helped chair the committee looking into it. She announced tonight she is voting for Kamala Harris. The Cheney name means a lot in Republican politics. And while she is associated as a critic who crossed paths with Donald Trump, she is a deeply conservative official, and she has said this matters for swing states, and writing in names of protest candidates is not enough. She will be voting for Harris.
All right, now let's see the source for this story from Emma Klein. Got a big scoop here in the audience of the Duke University Public Policy Forum, or whatever this is. Here's Liz Cheney on stage announcing her support for Kamala.
We're here in North Carolina. I think it is crucially important for people to recognize not only is what I just said about the danger that Trump poses something that should prevent people from voting for him, but I don't believe that we have the luxury of writing in candidates' names, particularly in swing states. And as a conservative, as someone who believes in and cares about the Constitution, I have thought deeply about this. And because of the danger that Donald Trump poses, not only am I not voting for Donald Trump, but I will be voting for Kamala Harris.
They've surrendered to the communists.
Yeah. Look at that big applause there. They were so thrilled to hear that.
For Kamala Harris.
Woohoo! Now, MSNBC wasn't going to just do one segment about this. No.
No.
Here's primetime Joy Reid.
This is what they live for.
That's right. Joy Reid with Matt Dowd, who worked for the Bush-Cheney White House. He helped Dick Cheney do debate prep. So real public servant here, giving his take on this endorsement.
Confederacy of Republicans, which is a majority of the gutless sort of Confederacy of Republicans, which is a majority of the leadership, refuses to put the country first, like Joe Biden did in what he did a month and a half ago. And that's why
Okay, all right. That right there strikes me. It's remarkable how on message they are with their propaganda. When you watch these shows, you watch segment after segment, you'll see no matter what the subject is, every single person they'll bring on, every host will find ways to work in these same propaganda points to drill into their audience. Joe Biden was not forced out, was not humiliated, was not intimidated by Nancy Pelosi. No, he made a sacrifice for the country. And this is why you sit there with your lib relatives and they go, Joe Biden made a sacrifice to the country, because that's all they've had drilled into them for months and months and months. It really is brainwashing. It really is.
Well, yeah, and because they're so easily brainwashed, this was the bargain that they made with Joe Biden, as I predicted they would. They go to him and they say, listen, we could either humiliate you and do this the hard way, or you can announce that you are stepping aside for the good of the country, and we will get the message out that you are this hero, that you sacrificed yourself for the good of the country, and they will buy it because that is what we will tell them. So, yeah, that was part of the deal. That's part of how they got them out.
Sure.
We could either tell the idiots that you're the most selfish scumbag in the modern history of American politics, whose lust for power is going to hand the presidency back to Trump, or we can tell those idiots that you made this noble sacrifice for the country. They'll buy either one. It's just up to you. How do you want to do this?
It is just amazing how they get out the message to every single fucking person who goes on MSNBC and CNN. They'll all find ways to slip that in. If Joe Biden's name comes up, it must immediately be followed by he made a tremendous sacrifice for the country.
Exactly. They're on script. All right, here we
They
go.
don't understand it. That's why they think it's some big mass machination or something. They don't understand that there are actually some people who believe in something more than personal power or personal ego.
Yeah.
And Liz Cheney, I've known Liz for 20-something years. I did debate prep with Liz for her father's debate back in 2004. And I agree with you. I mean,
Great
Liz
man.
Cheney and the
Great
Cheney
man. I helped do debate prep for Dick Cheney in 2004. I helped gaslight the mothers and fathers of American troops who are having their limbs and heads blown off in Iraq for no reason, that their sacrifice is worth it. What a man of great character here that they bring on.
And this is the other overarching piece of propaganda that these networks inculcate their audiences with. The idea that our system is working when people like Liz Cheney and Kamala Harris are making common cause, that there's this, setting aside all the partisan stuff, we're all Americans, and they don't look at what they are coalescing around. And
Of course.
they are intentionally directed away from that. We were talking about that on Jimmy's last night. It's the Chris Matthews really emblemized this way of covering politics more than anybody else. Like, his show was very emphatically about viewing politics as some kind of a game, as some kind of a sport, as a horse race. And that's it. Their audiences have been conditioned only to look at it that way. It's all about court intrigue if you watch the coverage.
But yes, and they are the cult of personality. This is the ironic thing. As we'll see here, they happily admit, gleefully, in fact, that Liz Cheney is a very, very right-wing Republican. So if you're happy to have the support of a very, very right-wing Republican, then is this about policy at all, or is this about your Trump derangement syndrome? It's about personality. They are so personally averse to Trump that they brag about the fact that someone who on paper is actually to the right of Donald Trump, pretty far to the right of Trump, is on their side. So here they go.
At the time in 2004, they thought they were the conservatives, and Bush was less of a conservative than they were. That's how they approach it. For her to endorse in this race is not only just attacking Trump and saying how dangerous Trump is, but for her to say she's going to vote for Vice President Harris is very significant.
It's not significant because no one except your audience likes her or cares what she has to say at all. She lost her primary by 30 points. But now Joy Reid proves what I'm saying. Look at how gleefully she explains how right-wing Liz Cheney is.
Not only that, I mean, Jimmy McCain, John McCain's son, has switched parties to become a Democrat and will vote for Vice President Harris. Let me look at Adam Kinzinger. Adam Kinzinger is as conservative as it gets. He is a right-winger, y'all. Let's just be very clear. He is a conservative. Here he is calling out someone else that I know that you know, Condoleezza Rice, who was National Security Advisor to President Bush, George W. Bush. And she says, I spoke with Brett Baer about my essay, The Perils of Isolationism, and why isolationism has never been the answer to the United States security or prosperity. The world still needs America, and America still needs the world. Adam Kinzinger responded to that and said, it's time to speak up and do more. You're not fighting against isolationism. You're fighting against Trump. You need to say this out loud. No more straddling the fence, Republicans. You're for Trump or against him. Pick a side.
Okay. Why don't you pick a side? Because if you notice in his profile picture, he has that Israeli flag, obviously the Ukraine flag that's par for the course on MSNBC. I don't think you're allowed on MSNBC unless you have a Ukraine flag in your bio. So that we can look past for that. As that is a sort of technicality. But that Israeli flag in the bio, Joy Reid has actually had some good things to say about Gaza from time to time.
Yeah.
And so why don't you pick a side? Why don't you pick a side? This is the thing. They are giddy at the fact that these arch conservatives are on their side. And when you look at the modern history of America, I think it is quite inarguable that no single politician has more blood on his hands than Dick Cheney, if you believe, as I do, that Dick Cheney was basically running the country during the Bush years.
Sure.
So this guy who did, debate prep for Dick Cheney, and look, you could say, well, Liz Cheney's not her father. Yes, she is. Politically, she is. She has not differentiated herself from her father's politics whatsoever. So I'm not just knocking her because she's part of the Cheney bloodline. No, her politics are his. This is an arch-conservative, warmongering, anti-democracy ghoul. And the fact that you are so happy to have her on board shows you that this is really about aversion to what Trump represents personally. It's not a sentiment of any kind of political, it's not an expression of any kind of political sentiment. It is a personal sentiment.
It is in a sense. To really understand this, you have these wings of the aristocracy. And it is very important that ultimately, whether the peasants align themselves with House Bush or House Obama, that ultimately they accept the premise that these people have the God-given right to rule over them. That is really the function of these news outlets and the propaganda that they drill into their mindless viewers. That is why you're supposed to rejoice at House Bush and House Obama coming together, because in the end, it maintains the peasant mind. It maintains that admiration for your betters. So when they come together in consensus, you're supposed to fall on your knees and worshipfully rejoice at our elite classes cooperating. The message, the ultimate message, is these people have a right to rule over you.
Right. That's true. That's true. So I would actually tweak that a bit. It's not that they don't have political sentiment. It's that political sentiment is really not about the left-right spectrum that they say it is. Because according to MSNBC, the further right you are, the more of a fascist you are. But Liz Cheney, on paper, you can't argue Liz Cheney is to the right of Trump on paper. There's just no arguing that.
Of course.
And so it's really not about how far right you are. It's about how well your ideas conform to what these media organizations and the think tanks that, have outsized influence on their programming, what they view as acceptable and not acceptable. And that sort of transcends the left-right divide. Right.
And that's why every lib it gets giddy, particularly about people like Liz Cheney working with them. They love that shit. There's nothing they like more than that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, they are all about that for sure.
That's America working. That's why they love the West Wing. The West Wing was full of speeches like that. Yeah, she's a liberal and he's a conservative, but damn it, when you get them together, that's their whole worldview that they impart to these dumb zombies who just accept the idea that, the car's going. It's going off a cliff, but it's going.
Right.
We're going places.
Please clap.